Hey, everybody. We are back for season 3 of the Aortic Kitchen. I'm Rob Seltzer, the Aortic Chef,
I'm Mindy Seltzer, the dietitian.
and we are very happy to be here for episode 1 of season 3. And I hear I've already got some viewers out there, Tom and Shauna and Christina. Well, welcome. Glad you guys could join me. I guess Shauna's still in the airport where she was earlier today. That's cool that she can still waiting on that plane, huh? Well, haven't we all been there before? So tonight I am going back to the beginning. This is season 3. Season 1 we opened up with knife skills and mise en place and sanitation, and it's been a few years, so I thought that's always something we can review. It's always worthwhile, even for me. I can always use a little knife skills review because if we don't do it all the time, we get rusty. And knife skills is all about practice, 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 practice. So the more you do it, the better you are. If you take a couple of months off from the kitchen, your cuts look pretty crappy. Okay. So first, though, I want to talk about mise en place, MEP as I call it, or MEP. Mise en place is a French term, and it means everything in its place. It's a real important part of working in a kitchen, as well as knife skills is a very important part of mise en place, because a big part of getting things ready, putting them in their place, is having them cut and ready to go. So when you need to cook and start doing things, you've got all of it together. So mise en place really something we do every day. I mean, if you're the type of person that lays their clothes out the night before they go to work, that's doing the mise en place for the morning. Or if you have all your pills set up, like we all do, for the next day, and all the things we need to do for ourselves for personal care and have it all ready, that's mise en place. So in the kitchen, it mainly means having everything ready to go and everything where it belongs. That old Dutch saying of, everything has a place, and put everything back in that place. So that is the same thing, but also the starts with, if you're working with recipes and reading your recipes and collecting all of the ingredients, because there's different levels of mise en place. The first part would be collecting all the ingredients. Like I've done that for today. Here's all the stuff I'm going to work with today. And there's, we're going to cut some potatoes and some celery and some carrots and all that type of stuff. And to demonstrate the knife skills. So I've got that, and I've got my knives out, and I got all sorts of knives, actually, lots of knives. So I've done that part of the mise en place. But then if I was getting ready to cook or make something, the mise en place would include cutting up all the vegetables, all the meats, having everything ready. If you ever cooked Asian food, they tell you to have everything ready to go, because when you're working on a wok, it's really hot. You got to have everything ready. You can't stop in the middle of stirring something in a wok and decide you have to chop garlic, because everything else is going to burn by the time you do that. So you got to have everything ready, everything in its place. You have your towels, you have your, the oven preheated, you have all these things done. That's all mise en place. So mise en place promotes efficiency. It also promotes sanitation, because when everything's ready and done the proper way, you don't end up doing things like, which we'll talk later about, cross-contamination, because you've done them in the right order and things are separate and have their place. Okay, so it's really important, mise en place, to practice it every day of your life, and it's real important to practice in the kitchen. It's one of the first things we teach in the culinary schools is mise en place, because that's the same class as beginner's knife skills, where we talk about that. So I am going to need to get a drink because my throat is dying here. My doctor tells me my reflux has gotten worse and it's eating up my throat. So we'll find out. We all go through that. Okay, so before we can do knife skills, what do we need? We need a knife. So let's talk about the knife. And I know there were a lot of questions about that. Some other people have mentioned that they wanted to find out what's a good knife. How do I find a great knife? What makes it right? And what do we do? So let's talk about the knife, because that's really, really important. First, what do we need? What knives do we really need in our kitchen? Because as you see, I have a knife block here. I have a knife block over here. I have a tray full of knives and tools here, and I got more out in the garage in my tool chest, more in the drawer. I got them everywhere. Well, it's kind of like, we could move them into the bedroom, honey. They're kind of like, collecting teacups. I'm a chef, collect knives. Okay. We like playing with sharp instruments and fire. That's our thing. That's what turns us on. So really I believe, if you really get down to it, all you really need is 3 knives. I could take all this other stuff, throw it away, but I won't. Okay. Because it's worth too much. You really need 3 knives. The most important knife, the chef's knife. Okay. You see these, you see them everywhere. You probably have one. They come in multiple lengths. I have one as short as 6 inches. Okay, for very small hands and jobs, but I don't use that very often. This one is 8, and I even have this is a 10, which is really large. That's for pros only. This is an old Henkel that I got back in 1984, I think, maybe 85 in South Bend. And it's a beautiful knife. It's from the original Henkel line, which is one of the big brands. And we'll talk about that. But this is real. Most people really don't want to deal with a long blade like that. So chef's knife, because what's the chef's knife do? It does everything. This is the everything, the all-purpose tool. There are a lot of chefs say this is the only knife they need, and they're right, okay, as long as they keep it properly. The second knife that you need would be a paring knife. Now, there are different types of paring knives. This is a probably 4-inch or 3.5-inch paring knife, and has a lot of purposes and can do a lot of the same things. In fact, I see a lot of chefs, if you watch videos, Jacques Pepin, who's the father of chef education. He's amazing. He does almost everything with a long paring knife, okay, because you can get them, a little bit longer. And I never see him use a chef knife. He's always using a paring knife. And third, the knife that you also need would be a serrated knife, often called a bread knife, but it has more purposes than just bread, so it is really actually just a serrated knife. And there's different types, but this one is really the general purpose or a offset one. I'm going to have an older one with a wood handle that's very sharp, and we also have a smaller one that's more. Mindy likes to use this one. It's her hand because it's that serrated edge, and they never really don't dull up as much. But she likes that knife. So why these 3? Because I really can do, with these 2 knives, I can do almost anything. I can bone a chicken with the paring knife. I can bone a chicken with the chef's knife. I can do vegetable prep with either one. I can pretty much do anything with both knives, either knife, okay? The serrated is really great for, I'm going to kill myself if I don't get it together here. Besides bread, you'll see it's really great for fruit. For cutting fruit, more so than this straight blade. So it's also a wonderful knife. I will put it away so I don't hurt myself. Okay. Now, what makes the knife really good? What is it about it? There are certain components to a knife that you want to look for. If you're going to buy a new knife or a knife set, these are things you have to look for. First of all, okay, we've got the blade, okay, which is very important. What's it made of? Today, most knives are made of high carbon stainless steel. Okay. Years ago, they were all carbon steel, and they used to rust if you left them out and you washed them and didn't dry them. They would get rusty, things of that nature. And they didn't hold an edge great. They did, but you had to sharpen them all the time to keep them, because the carbon steel is soft comparatively. When they then mixed in stainless steel, which has chrome and nickel, and steel added to it, it gave it strength. So now they hold a really good edge, longer, but you still need to keep them sharp. We'll talk about that. But you want that high carbon stainless is one of the things you want to look for. And most of the time you will. Now, unless you're buying really cheap knives, and those are just kind of flimsy stainless and things of that nature, stuff you find in your discount stores and so on. But, well, okay, thanks, Mindy. sometimes you don't want to take your good knives with you, so you can take some cheap knives that are almost disposable. So, all right, we then have a part of the knife, this right here. This is called the bolster, okay? This area that what's a bolster, right? When you used to go to your grandmother's house, and she had those nice couches with the big round arms on the end, and those were called the bolsters where you rested your head. So the bolster is right here. You want a thick bolster. Let me, da, 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 da.
Yeah, do you see how camera 2 just decided to not play nice again?
I just noticed that.
Well,
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to come to a good break. I think you might have to wiggle that cable I think it just stopped recording on that. Yeah. Because it just flashed out.
That's weird. I'll disconnect and reconnect. That is, because the camera's off on here. It just turned itself off.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
That's not what we want to see there either. That's telling me that the camera's not connected.
Nope, it's not. It is not connected right now. It just shows my cell phone. So hold on. No. And I don't want to have to restart the laptop. We're not going to do that. So we'll live without it. That's all. We'll just continue without. Wow, congratulations. She's always been a young hottie. So, I get it. I get it. So back to this bolster. So the bolster, this is where, when you hold a knife properly, this is where you rest your finger. So that's the spot that you rest things on, a bolster. So this is where you rest it. And what you want to make sure is that this bolster is thick. Okay. The cheap knives, typically, and I don't have any of those laying around. They don't have here, this Santoku doesn't really have much of a bolster. It's a little bit thicker back here, but it's thin. It's just the blade. And so when you work with that a lot, it starts cutting into your finger. So you want a nice, comfortable place to rest your finger, and that's the bolster. The top of the blade that goes down into the handle, and that is easier to show you. We'll come back to the serrated knife. If you can see, this is called the tang, like the stuff the astronauts used to drink. This is the tang. And if you notice on this knife, if you can see, I don't know if you can see or not. Yes, you can see it now. See how the steel goes all the way to the end of the handle and around? That's called a full tang. You want that. You want a knife that where if it has rivets, you can see easily, you should have 3 rivets, and that the blade part, the metal, goes all the way to the end of the handle. Okay, that's called the tang. And that's really, really important for the balance of the knife. Okay, so you got your blade, your edge. Your edge is part of the blade, which we need to be sharp. Your point, the actual blade itself, the bolster, the tang, and your handle. Now the handle, there's multiple types of handles these days, and this makes a difference as far as how we maintain the knives. So let me take this one here. This is the old wood handle, okay? Full tang. This is a rib slicer, okay, like for slicing prime rib, things of that nature. And it's serrated. It could be a bread knife as well. But it's got the full tang, but it's got a wood handle with 3 rivets, okay? So there's wood. Then these are a composite. This looks like wood, but it's not. It's a plastic, okay? It's a plastic composite. Nice. And then this is like a neoprene. Okay, it's soft, it's kind of padded, it's easy on the hand. This is the knives that we would, from my student knife kits at Le Cordon Bleu. And they're really, really nice. I like this particular knife. And they are Mercer is the brand. You can buy them on Amazon. And I'm not selling for Amazon, but whatever. I like them, they deserve it. So big difference. Years ago, used to be, how do we keep our knives clean? Which is a real important part too, part of sanitation. Knives get all the gunk and the goo, you can get chicken up in them and all that. How do we clean our knives? Well, when you had wood-handled knives, definitely you wash them in the sink with good soapy water, hot soapy water, and you could even sanitize them with a little bit of bleach water, depending what you're working on, and then dry them. Okay. And chefs always clean their own knives. You'll see if you're working in the kitchen, I never just put my knives over by the sink. But you never put them in the sink anywhere, anyways. Been there, done that. Had that happen to me. Cut all 4 fingers. But wood knives, you still had to deal with that. You had to hand wash them, but I always wash my own knives. It's kind of a chef thing. We always typically wash our own tools. Like being a carpenter, you take care of your own tools. Okay. Now, so your knees never went in the dishwasher. That's all the thing. Never put knives in the dishwasher. You ruin your knives. Some people said they used to ruin the edge. Well, I already talked about edge technology. It's now high carbon stainless. You can put high carbon stainless in the dishwasher. It's not going to rust. It's not going to ruin the edge. Okay. Plastic handle like this, composite handle, that can go in the dishwasher. Nothing's going to happen to that knife if you put it in the dishwasher. But make sure you're the one that's unloading it. Don't just throw things in there and, make sure the point's down. And these neoprene type rubberized handles also can go in the dishwasher. I do them about, not all the time. Like I'll work with it, but like when I'm working regularly, once a week or something like that, I'll put them in the dishwasher. But the other thing today is a lot of these handles, they come embedded with an antibacterial agent so that they resist getting, bacteria. They destroy bacteria. Like if you're doing chicken and ends up on the handle, it does do that. I already know. Thank you very much. So you can the usual say in the labels and such if they have the antibacterial. Okay. All right. So there's our knife maintenance, washing them, what to do, hand wash, dishwash, if you like, that's fine. Now, let me jump over a couple more things. What's that?
Perhaps now's a good time to call into some chat here.
I will. Okay.
Christina here says she still makes your no-knead bread. She says, used to. I use a 1/4 cup of flaxseed, mill my balsamic vinegar, and 1 cup raisins, and use my garage sale find 25-cent bread knife. I like it better than the $20 electric knife.
Okay. Yeah, electric knives, they're good for cutting bread, soft bread especially, and a lot of chefs, love them for carving turkeys. I'll tell you, they're really, really good for that. So if you do have wood handles, you definitely want to maintain them. You do need to oil them with food safe mineral oil, which I have as well, like anything like your wood bowls and any other type of wood things. So, okay. Anything else, Josh?
Nope. Take it away.
Nope. Okay. So let's talk about holding the knife, because this is real important, how we hold it. And this also goes back to those components, all those parts I was talking about, balance. A good knife should feel balanced in your hand, and see, I can balance this on 1 finger. Okay, that knife is well balanced. I'm not, the knife is. Okay, so, okay, so the knife. We do not hold a knife like a baseball bat. Okay, we can't do anything with it like that. If I'm not using this camera, I'm going to move it out of the way.
We somehow lost audio. And we're back.
Okay, I'm back. You don't have no cameras, but that's all right. That would happen. I took it off. So I just have my monitor basically, so I can stare at myself. All right, so holding the knife, really important. We don't do it like this. Why not? Really, because you don't have good flexibility, you don't have good control, and you don't want to squeeze your knife. You don't hold it that tight. So really the best way, I talked about that bolster. Well, your third finger, your middle finger, kind of make like a gun, like you did when you were a kid, okay? And grab the knife like that with the middle finger next to the bolster. The index finger goes on the front of the bolster, pointing down at the cutting board to the bottom of the blade, and the thumb goes on the other side, straight across. So it's kind of like this. You're making a cross with your thumb and finger, and the other three are down. So down, down, all down, and then the thumb here. Now what this does is this gives you really good control. You see, I can flex and move my wrist, go back and forth, up and down, easy. This gives you the best motion at all. Some people do hold it with their finger on top. I do not promote that method because you lose quite a bit of that flexibility, because now the handle is bumping into my wrist when I try to move the knife down. But like this, it turns the knife a little bit, actually like a 45-degree angle, which we're going to talk about. So make a gun, grab the knife, fingers down, thumb across. Perfect, perfect for everything that you do, all right? Now, when you approach the board, I just mentioned a number, 45 degrees. Chefs love 45 degrees in the kitchen. We do everything 45 degrees. When you cut something, your knife should be at a 45-degree angle across the board if you're standing straight in front of the cutting board, okay? Or some chefs do like to stand 45 degrees themselves to the cutting board and then cut straight in front of them this way, okay? That's a little awkward for me. I prefer approaching the board straight on, planting my feet, my legs, apart, knees relaxed, feet flat on the ground, and then the knife, because this gives you a really good positioning so you have no fatigue, and so you have full motion. Because when you're doing, if you try to cut like this, see my arm, my elbow is touching my sides, and it restricts my movement. This way, my arm can go, I have full movement with my arm, okay? So 45 degrees is key, and we use that cut a lot of times in other things, all right? Everybody got that? The next most important thing before I start cutting is how we line up our sight with the knife. You don't want to be out there and then cutting like this way, okay? You want to be over your knife. You want to have a line of sight with your eyes directly. There should be a line straight down from the bridge of your nose, straight down to the top of the knife. So when you look down, all you see is the top of the knife. If you see one side or the other, you know you're not holding your knife straight up and down, and then that'll affect your knife cuts, because then they're going to be angly and ugly. So you want to get, and it also gives you just the best view of what you're doing, so you don't cut yourself and you see where your knife goes at all times, okay? So 45-degree angle, holding it in a nice firm grip, 45 and over the food, all right? Let's try to cut some food. So we're going to do some different knife cuts. I got a whole bunch of knife cuts to do, but see how many we get through. I like to practice with newbies with potatoes because they're easy to cut, okay? They're very simple to cut, and because they're soft. And then we can move on to carrots and onions and things, other things like that. But why do I even want to bother with this, worrying about it? If I'm going to put potatoes in something, in some soup, or some carrots in soup, or in a saute or whatever, why do I even care about the knife cuts? Well, two major reasons. One, it looks nice, okay? It shows that you care about what you're cooking. And in our world of cooking for ourselves and aortic survivors, and we're learning to cook without added salt, one of the things we talk about is we have to make the food look good as well, because we eat with our eyes. So sloppy cuts does not make for good looking food. So it doesn't look that good before we even put it in your mouth. So we want it to look good, one reason. Number two is for the efficiency of even cooking. So if you're, let's say, making a soup and you throw a bunch of diced carrots into it, and some carrots are, big hunkers, and some are little teeny little teeny pieces and this and that. And then you take it out, some carrots can be overdone. They're going to be mush. Some are going to be hard as rocks. So consistency in cuts consistency and cooking time. That's a key to making things work right. Okay. Got it? Great. So let's start with the basics. The basic cuts are typically what I call, or whatever you want to call them. We can generalize them as sticks and cubes. Okay. Those are Julienne in French. We have julienne, we have bâtonnets, which are like batons. Okay. We have matchsticks. We have long, skinny sticks. We have fatter sticks like French fries. You've seen French fries out there, big fat French fries, or little skinny shoestrings, right? Okay, those are fine julienne. So in order to do that, there's really just 3 basic cuts when we cut things. And I call that planks, sticks, and cubes, because that's the process that we do. And all these major cuts are done with planks, sticks, or cubes. Now with a potato, if you were a professional, and I'm going to show you the professional way, and nobody wastes stuff in these kitchens, what I'm going to do, you say, oh, you're wasting all this potato. But no, we don't. Okay. Sometimes you peel it, sometimes you don't. But we usually start with what we call, we want to get a square. We want to make the potato kind of a square rectangular, like a 2x4, so that we can then cut these straight pieces out of it. Because if I start cutting here, it's all around. So inside every one potato, there is, okay, this beautiful 2x4. Okay. So you got to look at it and visualize it. And you take your knife, you got to loosen potato. Okay. So we're going to cut this piece off here, and we're going to, now, tip first, slide forward, not through, and we don't push. We let the knife do the work. If it's sharp, which I have already done, I'd skip that. We'll go back to sharpening, and we push through. Okay. Nice sticky potato. Drop it. Find my spot from end to end. Okay. And see, it's a little bit off, but we can fix it. So don't worry. And we're at home. It's what we call rustic. We don't have to be perfect. Okay. Now, these would not get thrown away. These get turned into soup. They get turned into hash. They get turned into skin on French fries, whatever. Okay. So I can cut off my ends. 1, 2. So now I have what we call the block. See, that's a nice block. It's square, good shape. And now from this, I can cut my planks. Now, if I want nice, thick, the deal is you want things to be equal. So if I cut it a 1/4 inch thick here, when I drop it, I'm going to want to cut it a 1/4 inch thick there. So, so let's say I go with a 1/4. Again, I'm looking down and making sure my knife is straight. Slide. Look at that. And one more out of here. So these are what I call planks. Okay, we all start with nice starchy potatoes. So see, there's a beauty. Not everyone is perfect. That one's almost perfect. And that one's almost perfect too. That last one was a little off because it started off. Okay, so these we don't do much with, but now we then make that other cut that is the same. We're going to make the sticks. So now you leave one on there, and that lets you see, you know, so you get the same thickness. Keep going. Okay, that little piece goes there. And I do again. Now, if you're really good, you can try to stack them. Okay, some people do that. They like to show off. Okay. And we do it again. Okay. We used to make these nice little log cabins out of them. Have the students do that and bring them to you so you can look at them all, spread them out. So these are bâtonnets, batons, matchstick, which is a nice general French fry. These are really good, nice. But if you notice, if I brought them up to you, you would see that they are, see, they're all, and the easy way, you put them all together and you can see that they are, very square and the same thickness all around. So These are batonets or batons or matchsticks, whatever you want to call them. Now I can make them thinner on both ends, and have a julienne. Julienne's 1/8 of an inch. These are about 1/4. Fine julienne is 1/16. Really fine little cuts. So we want cubes. So now this will be a small dice. So I want to do the same exact. This cut needs to be the same amount as the width of the sticks. Look at that. I have all these lovely little cubes. Okay. Okay. And if I have my camera right on it, you would see that these are all perfect little dice. Okay. And that's what we call the dice, right? But now, again, larger, smaller, doesn't matter. That's really up to you what you're cooking. Some dishes call for smaller. This would be perfect for a little, home fry and soup. These are going to go into chicken pot pie later because I poached chicken last night and saved the broth. And by the time I have the carrots and the celery and the potatoes and the onion, I'm going to have chicken pot pie. Okay. So there's our potato. Any questions? Anything coming up? I'm going to finish dicing this one.
Shauna says, hold on, let me get this quote perfect. Robb, you are actually perfect.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And Ken has joined us. He says, good morning, everyone from Brisbane, Australia. This is a great morning cooking show for me.
Hey, Ken, thanks for joining us. We're doing some knife skills. Okay. Yep, we can make little hash browns for breakfast. Okay, so get this off my board.
Hold on. Also, one last one here. I skipped over Tom.
Ahead.
Tom said, had airlight knives made in the 1970s in Germany. Glad I have them now that I'm old with arthritis.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, the knife brands have really changed. Actually, my knife set, most of my knives here, I've got my Henkels, a couple. Most of this is Wusthof Trident from Germany, Solingen steel, which I still believe in. Some of these, like, I know, thank you. I'm losing my train of thought. Thank you. Like this boning knife is part of my original set. This is 46, 78, 24. Yeah, 46 years old, this knife. Okay. So the original wood handle Wusthof set. I replaced it with mostly other Wustofs, and then I've started using these Mercers, though, because I really fell in love with them at the culinary school. So great knives. I'm going to wash this one because it's covered in starch. Sharpening, what I really recommend for sharpening is that you either, the big deal is that you need to have something that's a diamond coated sharpener. Okay. There's a lot of these handy dandy ones at home that you can get. Okay. That you just pull the knife through, and those edges in there are diamond coated, industrial diamond, and they work fabulous. You got electric ones that are the same way. I have one of these. This is a sharpening steel. This is also coated with industrial grade diamonds. I've had this for, 40 years. Never wears out. And I use it like a regular steel, okay, to sharpen, and depending on the pressure. But that's you need a little more talent and just understanding. These that come with your knife, because this is not a sharpening steel. This is a honing steel. This is mainly, when you cut, you get little burrs, little teeny tiny bends. So when you rub it on this, it kind of straightens out those little bends, but it will not sharpen your knife. It'll just hone it. Okay. There's another set over here. These are those neoprene type knives as well. All right, let's move on. Let's do a couple different cuts. So I did the plank, sticks, cubes. Just remember that. Cut your planks, cut your sticks, cut your cubes. Now, let's move on to a couple of carrots here. I've got a peeler. This is just a carrot that I happened to use part of yesterday. Now you notice I hold the carrot and make one quick from top to bottom, and I do that even with the whole carrots with my peeler. None of this back and forth and really fast. You see stuff flies everywhere and it's messy, and you don't have the control. So again, holding the carrot, flatten your hand, starting at the top, one quick and rotate in your hand, and look at that all the way down. It's just faster than actually doing the back and forth, up and down, crazy movement. I used to do that until I was taught by a master chef that that's not the way to do it, Rob. Chef, you're going to teach other chefs. You need to do it right. Absolutely, chef. Yes, chef. The other one now, Jacques Pepin, who I talked about, he likes to do it the opposite. He feels there's more control this way. And I know I see a lot of chefs that do it this way. And they use other types of peelers too. The ones that are flat on the top, you just hold it above it. It doesn't have a handle. Okay, this works great. And there we go. Okay. Now, anybody know what this little point is? There's this little point on all your vegetable peelers. They got this little, extra piece up here at the front. Anybody know what that's for? Da, 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 da. Okay, nobody answered. That is actually for removing eyes and bad spots. So if you got an eye, a black spot in your potato, you take that little piece there and just stick it in there, twist around, and pop it out. Okay, easy peasy. So another cut. Now, if you notice, I cut this down. The carrots are harder. So I tend to, depending what I'm cutting, especially if I'm going to cut, dices or things of that nature, I will definitely, if I want carrot sticks, I don't work with the whole carrot like this. I cut it down to the length that I want it. So it's much easier to deal with. And then I have to do the same thing. I have to block it the same way. Okay. And work my way around. Or I can not worry about that and just cut straight across or just do, two sides even. You really want to keep the flat side down on something round. So boom. Those we have for something. Okay, and now I can cut this will really just be a couple. Okay. And cut it again. And cut it again. Cut off that. See, there's that round side that I didn't remove. And the round side. So then we can line them up and cut our little cubes or just leave our sticks, but I'm going to do cubes because I need them for my chicken pot pie, but I'm not going to use that for the chicken pot pie. I'll throw that. This is all going to go in the chicken pot pie. The other cuts I like when I'm doing carrots, because they're so hard and they can be dangerous, I usually just do two major cuts. I either do, or three. I do a round, okay, just cutting the carrot, right? Simple. I do a mezzalune, which is a half moon, so cut the carrot in half. And then, again, the goal here, though, is to make sure they're all the same width. And what did I forget to tell you guys about? Come on, Tom. I know what I forgot to tell you about. See how I'm holding my hand? We didn't even talk about that. So when you grab things, we don't cut with our hand flat, or else I lose fingertips and nails and things of that nature. If you play piano, you got to do the claws, we call it. Curl the fingers back. You use the front of your middle finger almost as a guide. And keep your fingers out of the way of the blade. So there's the mezzalune, or the half moon. Those are nice and easy, and they're very rustic. They're very homey. They work real well for what we have to do. One of my favorite cuts, though, for carrots especially, is what's called the paisan. Paisan's great for stews and things of that nature when you want larger pieces. So what you do, you work that 45-degree angle, Okay, make that first cut, roll it 45 degrees, make another cut, roll it 45 degrees, make another cut, roll it 45 degrees, make another cut, roll it, cut, roll it, cut, roll it, cut, roll it, cut. So you get these kind of triangular offset pieces of carrot that are really nice, and they look really good in the stew and in the saute in certain types of dishes. And it's a nice, easy cut, but it's just different, you know? And sometimes we just want to do things differently. Hmm? Amusing myself? No, that I do in the bedroom. Um, but it's a great cut. We used to do that a lot, again, for these types of, presentations. So dice, you can do carrot sticks, follow that same process. But I want to show that that's nice and round, works well for that. Celery, not much to say about celery. I do peel celery, by the way. I always peel my celery, especially in Florida, because it's always got this real thick skin that's terrible. And, all those strings get caught in your teeth, and we don't like those. Right. So I do like to, one quick peel, and you'll find that it's so much better. It cooks better. It eats better in your salads. Uh, Still stays crunchy and all, but you get rid of all that stringy stuff and the tough stuff part of the celery. Not a lot to tell you about celery, guys. Pretty much cut it right across. Now, let's talk about the paring knife real quick, because I didn't do that earlier. Paring knife, a little bit different. We don't hold the paring knife like we do the chef's knife. Obviously, it's too short. So depending what you're doing, if you just use it to cut, you do kind of just put your first finger under the bolster, and you can just cut, okay? If you're doing fine work, if you really want to cut something up and carve it, what we do is you actually choke up and you hold the paring knife, get your fingers, a couple fingers and the thumb way up on the blade. And then, like if you're going to peel or you want to shape something, you have a lot of control. And I can, cut a nice, not a tournée as we would call it, but I can do a nice, octagonal shaped carrot or something else, with it. But you choke up with it, even topping strawberries, peeling an apple, whatever. Choke up and hold it like this, and you'll find that it's so much easier to use. You have a lot more control. Okay, I'm going to cut the rest of this up because I need some for my stew tonight. Right, chicken pot pie is just chicken stew in a shell. Okay, I don't want to waste that little bit. Hi, Morty. Morty's standing next to me, just shaking like a leaf, like he does. I don't know what he wants. Thanks, honey. Look right behind you on the wall. Okay? I know, it's not a matter of food. So, let me move on. I'm getting short on time. Pepper. What's the deal with a pepper? Very wasteful. What I want to tell you is don't cut peppers in half. Don't go right down the middle and just cut it in half unless you're planning on stuffing it that way. Easiest way to deal with a pepper and to keep it intact. So if you don't use the whole thing, you want to keep the seeds in there. It'll keep it fresher. So if you wash it, just stand it up on the board and just cut down each side, a little bit off the center, and just cut straight down. Okay. And you can take your big knife, or you can take your little knife, and I want to remove the pith, this bit of the white that's in there that the seeds are connected to, because that's very bitter. You can rip it out with your hands, or you can take a paring knife and remove it. You do that with a jalapeno. That's where most of the heat is in that pith around the seeds. So you can get a jalapeno that's really not very hot. what's the point? But I mean, they have great flavor. I love flavor jalapenos. So, okay, I'm going to move that off. Now, if I want to put this away, I still have my seeds in there. Okay. If not, I can lay it down and finish. Take the bottom. Don't waste it. And even the top, you can trim that up and use a little bit of that too if you wish. Then you can do this. Basically, you have the planks already. Once you've done this with a pepper, and whoop, right over the edge. And you can go ahead and just cut your sticks. Okay. Got a couple more here. Notice I'm cutting on the inside of the pepper, not the outside. It's much more tender, easier for the knife to go through. If you try to cut through the skin, it's more tough. Okay, so we take some of our pepper sticks, and I'm just going to quickly do a quick dice. And look at that. We're all set. Almost ready for my chicken. Okay, get them all lined up. Boop. That one doesn't want to behave. Okay. Now comes the fun part, getting down to it. Now, something I mentioned before when we were talking about mise en place, sanitation. I'm not going to throw bits of that in here, rather than just talking directly about it. What's the most important thing about sanitation? Wash, 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 wash. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your station before, during, after. And anytime you change from one type of product to another, wash, wash, wash. So if you go from vegetables to meat, you want to wash. You want to wash this onion. And by the way, if you find that onions have really thin skins and they're hard to peel, a minute under some warm water, and that skin just comes right off. It's really easy and simple, makes it a lot easier to deal with. Now the onion has two ends. It has the root end with the little hairy stuff on it, and it has the stem end. That's where the nice green stalk comes out. When we cut onions, we want to keep the root intact. We don't want to cut that off. So you want to make a cut and remove the stem. Okay. Nice cut, nice round. We can peel it from here. You can cut it in half. Some people like to cut it in half. I prefer to just do it. I draw my knife down to the back and peel back that first layer. And you see it's all nice and soft because I wet it. See how nice that peels off? Then here's a little secret. Wrap it around the root and just cut right behind the root, but don't cut it all, don't cut all the way in so that you lose it, because we want that root there. See how that came off? It also captured any dirt that was in there so it doesn't end up on my cutting board. This is going to hold the onion together while we cut it. And you've probably seen this on TV. This is what I call the tic-tac-toe, and to do a dice. And then we're also going to do a julienne. So put the onion cut side down. You're going to want to make a cut straight through the root, right down the center. Split your onion in half. Okay, nice half onion. Lay the onion down flat. This is the tricky part. This is where you have to have a sharp knife. Really sharp knives make such a big difference. You got to step back. You got to bring your knife off the edge of the table of the cutting board, because I'm going to draw it through. And if I try to do this while it's on here, it's going to be angled because I can't, my hand's in the way. So we need to get the knife off of that. And then I turn the kind of the reverse 45 and just draw my knife once, keeping my fingers way up top, twice. Okay. Bigger onion, I would do that 3 times. Some people like to do the saw. I'm not a big fan of the saw. So that's the tick. Here's the tack, like a tic-tac-toe board. So now we make cuts. I'm going for a 1/2 inch dice like everything else, 1/4 inch. Run the knife every 1/4 or 1/2 inch. There's the tack. So I've got cuts this way and this way. And now the same distance as the width and lay it down. Take that last cut. No waste. Okay, and that's all nice, evenly cut, same size, diced onion. Easy peasy. Okay, move that off. Actually,
All right, we do have a comment here.
please.
So Jason says, "Hey Rob, my wife and I just got a mandolin. I like it for super thin slices of onions for sandwiches or cutting zucchini, but I still use a knife more in general. Do you use this tool?"
Yes, I have a mandolin. It's still in the box. Just like my food processor. I have it, but I find it's just so much easier and quicker for me just to pull my knife out and cut things up. The mandolin is great when you want to do a lot of really thin, like if you want to shave zucchini to make zucchini rolls or eggplant, or you want to do special things like waffle fries. They're great for that, and they're fabulous. And they can be fast if you're doing a lot of stuff. It's into the food processor. If I'm doing a lot of things, I can use the food processor. For my daily work, though, it's just, it's much easier to clean this than it is to clean my whole machine, Yes, well, but it still takes more work to clean the machine and set the machine up than doing all of this, okay? So another cut for the onion. Let's do a julienne. So that root I was talking about, I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to make a little V cut around it. See, I cut a little iceberg, a little wedge out of it so that it's gone. And I use this for salads. I use this in saute. The only place you should see onion rings, round cuts of onions, are in onion rings or maybe on a hamburger and a sandwich, okay? Otherwise, you should make these beautiful cuts where you follow the line of the onion. It's got this, it's got its own grain. And just cut them this way, following the curve. Lay it down again. And they're so much nicer. You get these nice, beautiful, long petals, onion petals, basically, that you can use. And they look prettier when you put them into a dish, whether you're sauteing, doing a pasta dish, or this is great for doing onion soup. This is what the cut I use for that, for French onion soup. But on salads and on plates and things like that, it just looks so much nicer. They're even and equal, and they work really, really well. Okay. So another thing for sanitation is something we call cross-contamination. So part of that mise en place is I always do all my vegetables first. I save my proteins for last, okay? I never cut the chicken or bring it out before I cut everything else. It's the last thing to come out, or the beef, okay? It's the last thing that gets done. Everything else ready and waiting, and then you wash the board, and then you can move on to your chicken and such. So cross-contamination especially is when you put a food that is not further cooked and contaminate it with the raw juices of something dangerous, what we call a PHF, a potentially hazardous food like chicken or beef. Proteins, animal proteins are potentially hazardous foods. And so if you cut some salad on the same cutting board that you just did your chicken, and then you go eat it without, you don't cook salad or cut up fruit, you're going to end up with, a salmonella infection or one of the other dozen different food illnesses. Okay, so no cross-contamination. Wash in between when you change things. Change your cutting board. Wash. Keep things separate. Okay, they even tell you today not to wash your chicken. And a lot of people freak out when you say that. Don't wash the chicken because you don't really need to. If there's anything on the outside, any bacteria that you find, it may look, you're thinking, ew, it's slimy and bloody. No, it's not. We talked about that with Christina. It's not blood. But anything there is you're putting into a hot oven or a hot pan, you're going to cook it well past the 165 that kills all those bacteria. So what you're actually doing is cross-contaminating your kitchen. When you put chicken in the sink and then you wash it and run water on it, you may not see it, but you're splashing water everywhere. And it goes on the, on your sink, on your stuff, everything else, okay? So you want to be careful with that. What's the other potentially hazardous foods besides animal protein, Mindy? Oh, come on. Bacillus cereus. Cereus, Cereus. The answer's in the name. Okay. Great cooked grains and legumes. Rice, peas, lentils, all those types of things are just as dangerous as meat. Okay, after they're cooked. Yeah, if you leave them out, you have to handle them just like cooked food. Keep them hot, keep the hot food hot, and the cold food cold. More people get sick. Thank you. More people get sick at the events from bad, rice dishes and so on than just the proteins. Okay. All right, garlic. Just a real quickie. The easiest way you saw it, I cut the tips off the garlic. Take your knife, give it a whack. Off comes all the skin. You don't have to stand there peeling. Now, if you got a bunch of them, if you're doing like a huge garlic project, that double bowl method, have you ever seen it? I'll show you another time where you put them in, 2 bowls and just shake, 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 shake. It works, believe it or not. Okay, so now if we're going to smash, if we're going to dice, we just start chopping, okay, our garlic. A lot of people like to use a small knife. We can peel and chop. Once you smash it, if you smash it really well, you're halfway home for a nice chopped garlic, okay? And then you do that nice choppy, choppy, choppy thing. And if you want garlic paste, we take it and we put a little salt on it, or in our case, we may use a little sugar, and just do this and just keep chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping. And all of a sudden we can have the crystals in the salt or a little bit of sugar, doesn't really affect the taste of what we're doing, just help break down the cell structure and move, and fix it. Okay. I'm pushing here. Okay, that's the majority of the vegetables. I got one more thing. Any more questions yet? Comments? Nope.
Well,
Okay.
Molly has joined us from Tahiti.
Hi, Tahiti. I know. We're all so jealous, Molly.
Oh, and Kim McNicholas from The Weight of My Heart has joined the chat.
Excellent.
She says, "We don't believe you are dangerous. I need those knife skills. I cut my pointer finger a second time in 2 days in the same place."
I've been there, done that. Believe me. It seems like once you start cutting something, you just keep doing it. It's like when you bite your cheek or your lip, you bite it every day, right? The same spot just keeps coming up. So I know. The big deal with this is practice, guys. You'll never get good unless you practice. You got to do it all, pretty regular. Keep your knives sharp. That is the biggest, make it the easiest way, one, not to cut yourself. Sharp knives go where you send them. There's dull knives that bounce off the food and then cut you because they don't go where you tell them to. And, we can use those little machines or a good sharpening steel. 3-way oil stones are the thing of the past. I mean, I still have one outside. I never use it anymore. That's what the professional chefs used to use. I'm sure some still swear by it as the number one. But it's not that hard. You can review this video anytime that you want to look at those. There's also lots of other videos on knife skills. We all pretty much teach it the same way. Okay, keep your fingers curled, hold that knife properly, that 45-degree angle, and then, do things as even as possible as you can. And the more you do it, the better you will get. You'll find that it really gets a lot easier. So, and if you have everything ready, mise en place, right? What we talked about in the beginning, everything in its place, making sure things are together and ready when you need them. Like now I'm ready to make my chicken pot pie and I'll have dinner before 8 o'clock because it'll happen real fast or all this stuff in the pan.
Real quick question.
Yes.
First off, Shauna, she had boarding and she wanted to say that you did a great job to know. Fantastic show tonight, Rob.
Thank
you.
We
all wished her a safe flight.
Absolutely.
Tom was remarking on her layover situation as 3 bars and 3-hour layover.
Yep.
So Dean says, "Hi, Rob."
Hi, Dean. Glad
So
you
the
can make
question
it.
here, is, any suggestions on the best knives on a budget from Kim McNicholas?
Best knives on a budget. Well, depends how budget we want to be. um, but as far as these go, this Mercer is pretty reasonably priced. The Wusthof Trident has their classic set. Is a decent little set for home use. They don't quite satisfy me overall. I mean, I have the professional Wustofs here, but the classic set that they have now, you can buy that everywhere. You know, Macy's, Bed Bath and Beyond, Amazon, all the different stores carry the Wusthof Classic. That's a great place to start with that. And I find that they're pretty well balanced, and they do hold up real well. So there's two good choices for you. Okay.
Right on. And Katie says, thanks, Rob. Great info. Christina says, steel grows like butchers. Tom says, thank you, Chef Rob.
Thank you, Chef Tom. Thank you, Katie. Everybody. I appreciate you all being here tonight, and I have maxed out my time. So
want to tell these nice people to like and subscribe?
Absolutely. Like, subscribe, share, everything you can do with this show and anything else that you happen to watch on Aortic Hope. Always please do like and share. That's our bread and butter. Okay. So I will be back. We're going to do a special show on Halloween. We're looking for all sorts of fun little things to make for Halloween. Have we set on a time for that, Josh?
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. We'll get back because a lot of people are going to be trick-or-treating at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, you didn't pick a time.
Yeah, so we will do that. We will announce, watch the pages. We'll probably do a little bit earlier. It'll be on that's whatever day that is. Is that a Thursday as well? I forget.
It is.
So, okay. So maybe we'll start earlier, maybe 4 o'clock or something, so people have time to tune in and still have time to answer the door and take their kids out or their grandkids. All right. Halloween, lots of fun. Yum, lots of candy. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to say goodnight. This is Rob Seltzer, the Aortic Chef for Aortic Hope. And I want to thank Josh for all his help and everyone for coming. And a shout out to Karen. And we hope you're feeling better. We know it's going to take time. So we love you all.